Hi, this is Dwight again. Thought I'd give you an update today on our discussion of China. There's been a recent initiative here which is being called the New Silk Road. Let me give you some background to start with. The term Silk Road was coined in 1877 by the cartographer Baron von Richthofen. Uh, but basically, in a very narrow sense, it refers to an ancient overland trade route formed in the Western Han Dynasty about 202 BC to 9 AD. The route stretched about 7,000 kilometers from Shan in western China, Central Asia, and even into Europe, went across through Istanbul and up into Vienna. Basically, it enabled better communication, diplomacy, and of course, trade and culture. It fell into disuse. So there's been a revival of the Silk Road in the 7th century after war had made it unstable, but again, it fell into disuse because these things happen over hundreds of years. However, in 2013, Xi Jinping, the president of China, proposed establishing a modern equivalent, what they're calling the One Belt, One Road initiative. It wants to create a network of railways, roads, pipelines, utility grids that would link China and Central Asia and parts of South Asia. The idea being that he wants to have a very large contingent of the world's economy that China's connected to. And of course, we are in the age of connectivity here. The land route will follow likely, pretty much the old one, starting in Shan, going through Urumqi, Almaty, in Kazakhstan, Bishkek, and into Tehran, Istanbul, Moscow, and from Istanbul into the rest of Europe. The maritime Silk Road, because remember this wasn't just an overland route. It's going to go again from the coast areas, from Kolkata, in India, Jiangxing in the South China Sea, Kuala Lumpur, Colombo, Sri Lanka, to Nairobi in Kenya, directly into Europe through Greece. In fact, they've acquired a major port there, and from there into the rest of Europe. It's a global infrastructure network. Some parts have already been completed, like the roads running into Pakistan. However, big chunks of it are still left undone. So there are going to be 3 routes that connect China to Europe via Central Asia, the Persian Gulf, the Mediterranean, and to Africa via the Indian Ocean and South Asia. And what we're trying to do there is put the world together. Officials in China say that there's about 900 deals underway worth about $890 billion. That's a lot of money in anybody's term. However, it matters, secondly, because it's important to Mr. Xi. He seems to see the new Silk Road as a way of extending China's commercial tentacles and soft power. And it matters because it's a challenge to the United States and a traditional way of thinking about world trade. Since the end of World War II, the U.S. has been the guarantor of world trade. So who's in and who's out? China is claiming about 65 countries, accounting for about 62% of the global population and 30% of the global economic activity. However, not all those nations have confirmed their participation. That's going to be coming over through time. The flagship projects are the $46 billion China-Pakistan corridor, a 3,000-kilometer high-speed railway connecting China to Singapore, and gas pipelines across Central Asia. Another reason this is being done is that China has more savings than it can invest at home, and it does have experience with completing big projects. However, this is the most ambitious thing. In fact, this dwarfs the Marshall Plan, where the United States and the Western Allies helped to rebuild Europe and Japan after World War II. The Asian Development Bank has doubled previous estimates that said developing Asia will need to invest $1.7 trillion a year, or about $26 trillion through 2030. That's a lot of money. Where they're going to find that, I don't know. China is burdened by inefficient allocation of capital, which we've talked about. But that's what one can expect from an economy dominated by state-owned enterprises. And China may be primarily interested in redirecting surplus savings, exporting its overproduction, giving its own construction companies work abroad. In other words, this is a mercantilist strategy. And mercantilism, is the reason Adam Smith wrote The Wealth of Nations in 1776. These risks will be compounded to the degree that the Silk Road also is aimed at deepening China's political hegemony across the region. mean, projects like this don't have just an economic aim, they also have a political aim. And that's something that will need to be overcome. So, it's got some good things, it's got some bad things, but it's a thing that we need to talk about because it's big, it's huge, and it's important. So, I'll talk to you more later. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.